Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well and welcome to my latest video essay in which I discuss one of my favourite movies of all time in Zodiac. Though I have done a similar video in the past on this movie, I have to admit the audio quality was not great to say the least. With my audio setup now being a lot better than previously, I thought what a perfect time it would be to discuss this modern classic. So without further ado, let's explore the key filmmaking elements on display to explore why Zodiac is a masterpiece. Director David Fincher and screenwriter James Vanderbilt use some interesting story devices in Zodiac to ensure that we're never worn out during its grand runtime of 157 minutes. One of these devices is subverting audience expectations. An example of this is the scene where police officers Dave Toschi, Bill Armstrong and Jack Mullenix are interviewing Arthur Lee Allen at his place of work.
Zodiac murder. If they're true, they're quite incriminating.
The camera often cuts to Allen to reveal visual clues that tie back to the Zodiac Killer. This includes Allen's wristwatch containing the Zodiac symbol, along with the military boots that he wears. Fincher is great at teasing the audience into thinking that each time our heroes close in on a substantial piece of evidence, it'll provide us with a sense of closure to prove that this man is the killer. However, as Fincher does best, he puts barriers between Allen and the police, particularly how the evidence found on Allen is later revealed to be circumstantial. And so, what separates Zodiac from other thrillers is the pessimistic stance on the way the story is told. This is because we don't always get the answers we want, despite what transpires in the plot. In a happier version of the story, the evidence found by the police would be enough to lock Allen away and provide a heroic ending for our characters. Instead, Fincher and Vanderbilt are not interested in taking creative liberties in their depiction of the Zodiac story to create a satisfying conclusion. Allen, in the real telling of events, was no more than a suspect, as the movie's ending follows that same lack of resolution. This ultimately creates a bleak outlook, not only for the world that the characters inhabit, but for our society in general, as to whether criminals who commit murder suffer any consequences for their actions. A scary thought indeed. Up until Bill Armstrong's transfer away from homicide, Dave Toschi's demotion from the police force, and Paul Avery's descent into alcoholism and drug abuse, Fincher and Vanderbilt use these characters as our point of view for the first two acts of the story. With every murder that the Zodiac commits, we're rooting for these characters to find that vital piece of evidence that will turn the tide in the hunt to capture the Zodiac. So when these characters experience moments of defeat, such as when Avery receives a letter from the Zodiac threatening to end his life, we can't help but empathise with their decisions to drop their duties as heroes within the context of the story.
Tell me it's not a piece of bloody shit.
In the final act of the movie, we're in the hands of cartoonist Robert Graysmith, who fills the void left by our preceding protagonists. Despite Graysmith's lack of credentials in the investigative world, he fulfills the roles of both protagonist and hero, and given Toschi, Armstrong and Avery's failed attempts to solve the case, it makes us root that much more for Graysmith to try and solve the mystery at hand. Fincher also makes the bold choice to make the movie a reflective one. He decides to spread these moments throughout the movie. A great example is the scene where Toschi tells Graysmith of the time and effort spent by him and countless other policemen in trying to solve the case, and the strain involved in doing so.
Davey was just gonna do it. Do you know what the chances of us arresting someone are now? Too much time has gone by, okay? Too much of the evidence is lost. People get old, Robert, they forget.
This means that the audience is allowed to get inside the mind of the characters involved with the investigation, rather than focusing on the inner workings of the Zodiac Killer. Fincher in these scenes is conveying the message that people in positions of power, such as law enforcement, are not without their flaws. This is especially true when a lack of resolution in a case can damage their sense of pride within their profession, and how this can have lasting consequences on their everyday lives. He's informing us that not every hero has a happy ending, and that the search for justice can come at a price for those that truly care for the cause. David Fincher uses several directing techniques that he's been known for throughout his career to ensure that the movie doesn't glamorise the murders carried out by the Zodiac. This includes the opening scene that shows the Zodiac's second confirmed murder involving couple Darlene Ferrin and Mike Michaud. As the scene unfolds, we see their car stop at a lover's lane in Vallejo, California. Their conversation ranges from Ferrin's remark to Michaud as to why he's wearing several shirts on the 4th of July, to Ferrin laughing at Michaud when he says,
"Fuck off and die." Shut up.
It's clear that Fincher cares more about humanizing the victims of the murder, as opposed to showing the bloodbath of the crime itself. This is exemplified by Fincher's use of a low-medium shot when Ferrin and Majot are talking to each other to give us a sense of intimacy between these characters. Even when the murder does take place, Fincher uses quick cuts between Ferrin and Majot as they are shot multiple times by the killer. Fincher utilizes a wide shot of the Zodiac shooting his victims towards the end of the scene. This shot is important as it shows Fincher's decision to portray the Zodiac as a cold, distant individual. This reveals the movie's stance on the killer, that he was as far removed from sanity as you could get. This separates Zodiac from other serial killer movies, in which directors often focus a little longer than they should on the murders, as opposed to humanizing the victims beforehand. Based on the filmmaking elements that I've covered in this analysis, we can now decipher why Zodiac is a masterpiece. Firstly, the storytelling devices used by David Fincher and James Vanderbilt, such as subverting audience expectations, leads to a story that is gripping from start to finish and leaves us with more questions than answers, a risk that many thrillers tend to avoid. Fincher and Vanderbilt build the foundations of the movie through a plethora of well-developed characters who have clear motivations for their actions, coupled with well-thought-out character arcs. This ensures that we're always emotionally invested with the characters that play a prominent role in the investigation. Fincher uses several directing techniques that he's been known for throughout his career and applies them in Zodiac. This includes not glamorizing the murders, as he spends more time humanizing the victims to make us feel the full weight of the murders. In short, after exploring the concepts of story, script writing, character development, and direction, we can see that once these ideas synchronize with each other, result in the masterpiece that is Zodiac. So I'll now hand it over to you, as I want to find out your thoughts on Zodiac, and do you agree that it's a masterpiece, as I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.